We want to let you know that Marsha Blackburn has just been declared the projected winner in her Senate campaign to win another 6 years in Washington. So it appears she has done that, according to the Associated Press. As Otis and I indicated, it didn't take very long for that projection to be made tonight. Now, there's a lot on the line this election, specifically when it comes to the race to the White House. If Vice President Kamala Harris wins, she could make history, obviously, as the first black woman president. During early voting, our Pepper Baker visited a few polling locations to see what people thought about the possibility of a Harris win.
So this presidential election is going to be historic in more ways than one. America could have its first black female president. So we went to 3 polling locations here in Memphis to ask voters about what they think about Kamala Harris. And first up, we're at the Ed Rice Community Center here in Fraser. So let's go talk to some voters.
Thank you for voting today. We appreciate it.
I voted for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Why?
For one, I think she's the best candidate. I think she's qualified.
I'm Democratic, so, I voted for Kamala Harris.
If she goes in, this country is definitely going to have a problem.
Some varying opinions from 3 Fraser voters over the age of 50. For Alvin Fleming, a 74-year-old Marine veteran, it's Harris's promise to expand access to affordable housing, including offering up to $25,000 in down payment assistance for first-time homebuyers.
The American dream of a home has become the American nightmare. And so somehow we've got to turn that around, and I think she's headed in the right direction.
May Vanucci Tulip, who has faithfully voted in Memphis since 1955, isn't sold on Harris's work at the southern border.
America has many people that have come across the border that should not be here, and they're causing great harm. And the reason the border has been wide open is to try to get votes. And that is the Democrat Party.
So the second location we're at is the Solomon Temple MB Church. We are in Whitehaven now, and we saw a couple people going in. We're going to ask them what they think about this historic time in American history. Who did you vote for?
Yes. It had nothing to do with her being black. Nothing at all. It just had to do with the better person for the job. Because if there was a better person than her, I would have voted for them.
Terry Hardaway is on board with Harris's plan to expand health care coverage and continued work to cap prices on prescription drugs.
I'm getting ready to turn 65. And medicine would be, he don't care about that. He didn't say anything about that. But, I'm a diabetic.
Kenneth Dalton supports Harris's commitment to keep NATO intact.
Most of her policies seem to be level and common sense policies. And when you start talking about not supporting our allies around the world, that kind of really struck me. I mean, alliances are very important, and I think we should keep that.
All right, we are at our third location. That is Briarwood, out on Germantown Parkway. This is the 1 hour left before the polls close. It's almost 6 o'clock now. The polls close at 7, and we are going to talk to people here to see what they
voters.
feel. Do you think America is ready for a first black female president?
I think America is a diverse and beautiful country and is more than ready for a woman president, our first black female president, and our first mixed race female president.
Democracy is on the ballot. We're either going to keep it or we're going to lose it. Definitely. Or think we have it and we don't. So that's important to me.
Black men for Kamala Harris.
I think there are some black men and white men who don't want a woman at the top. But I think it's time for a change, and they'll get used to it.
I sincerely hope that President Trump does get reelected.
I believe that our democracy is on the line. So I would say it's critical for everyone to get out and vote.
Interesting sound bites there from everybody and all the voters you talked to. You said, though, it was interesting that a lot of Republicans you interviewed really didn't want to talk on camera. You had the one woman, 92 by the way, I'm
92 years
impressed.
old, 92 years old, right.
Who was willing to talk about her support for Trump, but that was it.
Right. She'd been voting in Memphis since 1955, so I just want to preface that. And I think when you maybe get to that age, you just, say whatever.
I don't care,
You don't
right.
really hold back. And particularly, I had tried to stop a lot of white men, and they kind of just blew right past me. And when I did talk to them off camera, there were surprisingly a lot who said, I'm Republican, but I'm voting for Kamala Harris this time. But they didn't want to publicly go with that. I did want to say that, the top issues that have been talked about a lot with this election, democracy, economy, abortion, immigration, and foreign policy, voters in Memphis were very educated on this election. Those were essentially, some of those sound bites were those topics that they hit on. Foreign affairs, they really loved Kamala's viewpoint of NATO and keeping those allies intact. And then I talked to women about abortion, of course. Democracy, though, that was a big one. Just democracy on the ticket. That was a lot of what they said there in their language.
Very good. I guess, so considering Shelby is a blue county, you would hear a lot of that. But it is interesting how well informed they were. And it's encouraging to hear that, too, I might add.
Yeah, I would. And yeah, all of those precincts had really good numbers. That was early voting, of course, but it was constant, all three of those that I had went to. So it was a good turnout. As we know, it was around 270,000 in person or absentee in Shelby County turned out. And you could see it if you had physically went to the polls.
Wow. All right.